This is the Breakaway. To those watching on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, welcome along. And the purest of disciplines, Primoz Roglic was the purest of them all, taking the win in the individual time trial and the red jersey as a Borussia bonus after stage 10. Miguel Indurain presenting him with his prize on the podium just a few moments ago. So that means that Roglic is indeed the man to beat as we head into week 2. Alejandro Valverde now 1 minute and 52 back. Miguel Angel Lopez remains in third, but he now has a 2 minute and 11 deficit to make up. Nairo Quintana in fourth, he's 3 minutes back, and look at that. Tadej Pogacar, the youngest rider in this race, just 5 seconds behind Quintana. Well, Brian and Matt are still alongside me here, having gone through that stage. Brian, has Primoz Roglic done enough today to stamp his mark on a contention for the red jersey, which he now pulls on his back, of course? Has he done enough to take this all the way to Madrid, or at least have it come Madrid?
I think he has. Barring any accidents, I think he's in a very, very strong position. I think Sean said it during commentary that in the Giro D'Italia this year, he found it really difficult in the last few days. You know, he crashed in the Giro as well, kind of suffered towards the end and put a lot of effort into the first couple of weeks. I said earlier on that he hasn't put a big effort in yet. He hasn't been on the attack. He's been following. His team have looked after him, although they've lost Steven Kruijswijk. I think he looks in a very strong position in stage 10. That time trial performance, I was expecting anywhere over a minute and a half. He just blew the race apart today, and I'm afraid everybody else has got to go on the attack if they want to win this race. But I think the team of Jumbo-Visma are strong enough to help Primoz Roglic now to go the whole way.
And a huge smile from the Slovenian, as you would expect. This is a dream day. And Matt, considering the race that he and the Jumbo-Visma squad have had, he lost 40 seconds on the opening team time trial. He's crashed a few times. As Brian says, he's lost a key teammate in Steven Kruijswijk, and yet he stands here on the day of the individual time trial where he should be, really, on the top of the podium.
Yeah, we expected it. He was the favourite and he's delivered, and to echo the kind of sentiment that Brian mentioned, it's about, you know, has he done enough? I don't think he could have done any more. I think he's actually, in the time trial, he's exceeded expectations, but now, as you mentioned earlier, it's just about can he take it all the way, because we've seen in all the Grand Tours he's done before, he's won stages, been on the podium. What he's done is capitulated in the last few days, but again, he's grown. Every race that he's done, every Grand Tour that he's done, he's got stronger and stronger. It's undoubted time trial performer, but it's got better in the high mountains, and we know that he likes the types of climbs that pepper the Vuelta as well, the steep, short climbs. That's his favourite ground, so he remains very dangerous, and his team as well, mightily strong behind him.
The thing is, when you look at the other riders round about, I think Pogacar will be happy with 5th or 4th, but Valverde, Lopez, Quintana, they're here to win. Yes. So, and that's the key difference. Sometimes when you get to this stage in a Grand Tour, they start protecting their podium positions. I can't really see that happening. Both Movistar and Astana are here to win, and the next few days, okay, the next 2 days are not going to be a general classification fight, but come the mountains, we're going to see some more fireworks. We have to see it if they want to win the race.
You can hear the noise behind us, of course, and there's another podium presentation underway right now, and that is Primoz Roglic shaking the green jersey as well, which he was wearing today in place of Nairo Quintana. Given how this race has played out, Matt, and we have had so many changes of the red jersey. We've had so many, I guess, unexpected performances when we look at a GC battle on stage 2, which we weren't expecting. But is there a certain satisfaction to this race, do you think? Because we've had Nico Roach crash out, but he wouldn't have expected, I guess, to be contesting the podium by the time we get to Madrid. Is there a satisfaction to this being fought out by the riders who should be fighting it out?
There's been a few riders who have dropped by the wayside, like Kruijswijk, for example. Let's be honest, if Kruijswijk was riding like we know he can ride, he'd be in the top 6. That's a bit of a shame. In tandem with Roglic, you know, what a formidable duel that would be. I think Nico Roach could have been battling for a top 5 position because he looked a lot leaner. Just the way he was riding on the climbs, it's such a shame to lose him. I think Kelderman will be happy with a top 10, but I think barring those two riders, the top 4 or 5 at the moment is what I would expect. So they deserve it. And the interesting thing for me now, though, Valverde 1 minute and 8 seconds ahead of Quintana. Is he now the de facto team leader? That's going to be fascinating to see.
The Movistar soap opera continues, no doubt. We just saw Miguel Angel Lopez, Brian, and I'm sure his legs are tired as much from jumping up and down that general classification as they are from coming up and down the mountains. What can we expect from him now, then? It was, I don't want to say it was a disappointing time trial. He lost a lot of time, but probably what he expected to lose.
I don't think Lopez could be too disappointed today. In my book, I think he's where he is in the time trial. Unlucky for starting 2 minutes in front of the flying Roglic, but we've seen glimpses in stage 9 until he crashed in the gravel section that he looks super good. He will attack. He's here to win. Astana here to win. I think that the pressure is off Astana over the next few days. I think he'll be a major danger in the last week of this race. He'll not give up, which is good for the Vuelta and good for the fight.
Okay, we've been asking for your tweets, which you appreciate as ever. We've got a good one here from Julian. I quite like this question. We're in a bit of a delay, so I'll wait for it to come up on our screens because I don't have it written in front of me. No, we don't have the tweet. We'll bring it to you later, but thanks anyway, Julian. You know who you are. He was asking, how can riders be so close together in the mountains and yet have so much time between them on the flat, in a nutshell?
It's a really, really good question. I mean, especially when you look at the distance. Over 200 Ks, they can be separated by a handful of seconds, but over 36 kilometres, they're separated by, well, Quintana, for example, who's a match for Roglic in the mountains, loses 3 minutes. But Roglic is a more complete rider. He is your classic Grand Tour winner. I mean, because he can do it all. He can ride in the high mountains, he can ride in the wind, but more importantly, he can ride an exceptional time trial. And that's not to take anything away from Nairo Quintana, who's won the Vuelta and the Giro D'Italia, but he has an Achilles heel. And so, to a degree, does Alejandro Valverde, although he has won this race. They have a slight weakness in the time trial compared to the riders who are far more complete, and that's where the big difference is.
It's what makes Roglic all the more impressive, really, because we talk about him not being a pure climber. He's been climbing like the pure climbers in this Vuelta, and yet he is supreme in the time trial.
Yeah, when you look at the credentials of Roglic, he has been climbing out his skin better than pretty much I think I've seen him. Okay, he's won stages in Grand Tours before, in the Giro and the Tour de France, quite impressively, but when you're up there with the best climbers in the world and you can time trial with the best time trialists, and I would think he got a silver medal in the Worlds a couple of years ago. Primož Roglic is one of the best time trialists in the world. He's the complete package, but just to add to that question you asked there, a lot of it's mentality. You can hang on to someone in front of you on the climbs, but when you're on a time trial, we talked about it with Bradley Wiggins, it's going through that psychological schedule of concentration, and some of the climbers don't have that.
Well, we're talking about impressive performances. I'll tell you what, one young British rider who has impressed supremely, James Knox. He's finishing right up there, and at least staying up there in the mountains every day. Finished 15th today. He's top 20. Matt, you caught up with him just a few moments ago. Let's hear from him.
James, after a really solid day, the other day in Andorra, riding up with the GC riders, how were the legs performing today?
Yeah, I think they were good. I'm not entirely sure I did, but I felt like I pushed on all the way through there for a long TT, which is the important thing. I didn't die too hard.
Was the plan to go full gas though, or was that just something that happened out on the road that you felt good, so you pressed on?
No, we had a good talk with the director sportive yesterday. You know, I'm not in an amazing GC position. I'm in 21st, but I'm sort of going to keep plugging away now. Big experience for me to carry on riding in GC, and just we'll see how it goes. You know, it's not the main focus. The main focus is finishing and trying to get in some breakaways and fight for victory. But why not keep going? You know, I'm not in a terrible place. So, and again, you know, pushing on in TT. It might come in one day in a few years where I've got to do a 30k TT all out. So it's all good practice.
And what was your general view on the course? It's a bit like you said before. There's something for everybody on this course. Yeah,
it's a proper sporting course, isn't it? It's like doing one in the UK. You know, some of the nice events we have there. It's narrow lanes, up and down, and I think it's It's nice to see this sort of TT in a Grand Tour. It's not 10k in a straight line, which is all about the big power. You've got to be able to do all. You've got to be able to get around the corners. You've got to push on the climbs, ride a level effort. So I think it's nice to see something like this.
Great stuff. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Well, I was using my finger to stab down the general classification on my iPhone. I'd counted 20. James Knox says he's 21st. Either way, Brian, it's not just his performance, it's his attitude that's really impressing. He's down to earth, keeps his head screwed on, and he gets the job done.
Yeah, it was disappointing earlier on in the season when he crashed out the Giro D'Italia. But now, in the Vuelta here, he's really performing well. Stage 9, I think, was a breakthrough with him. He was there with the top climbers, but he has to go through the time trial today, and like he said in his interview to Matt there, that he has to be able to do this in the future. He's a star, a British star of the future. Maybe a lot of people don't know about him now, but hopefully we'll know about him in the future.
What have you made of him, Matt? You've been chatting to him most days outside the team buses.
Yeah, he's just such a modest lad. I mean, he's so unassuming, but as Brian said, massively talented. It's just so wonderful to see all these young riders coming through. But James in particular, he got the pro contract by kind of the back door. Really did his own thing. But he's quietly confident, and the thing for me is that, which I've reminded him a few times, is that he's been given sort of GC status by Deceuninck Quickstep, the biggest team in the world, and I kind of reminded him of that the other day. And he thought, blimey, I've never really thought of that before. But no, he's just chipping away, and it was really good of him to say that, yeah, in the future, I need to know how to ride a time trial even when I'm tired. But the day for me was how he rode in Andorra, you know, hanging tough with the GC protagonist. Didn't get in the break, but was hanging tough with the best climbers in the world just until near the end. And that for me says there's a lot still to come from him.
Sod's law, isn't it, that the music would stop just as we're finishing up. No Tango Mass for the millionth time at this Vuelta España. We'll find somewhere that's playing it, I'm sure. But we are off not to karaoke, but to the mountains once again for stage 11. It's a day probably for the GC men, though, to stay out of trouble and out of the wind, perhaps. We start in Saint-Palais. This hilly mid-mountain stage takes us on part of the route of the Santiago de Compostela pilgrimage route to Ordaz. It's Urdasubi in Basque, I understand. Here is why the Breakaway hopefuls will be confident their prayers will be answered. We have 3 categorised climbs, none above a 2. The first Cat 3 peaking at 77 kilometres, and the following Category 2 and Category 3 coming in the last 70k. Well, before that, you can catch any of today's stage that you may have missed tonight at 8 p.m. British Summer Time on Eurosport 1. We'll be back at the usual time of 1:45 on the same channel tomorrow, and you'll be spoilt for cycling before long because we have the Tour of Britain from this Saturday, which will be live on the Eurosport player at 12:30 with highlights at 9 o'clock BST on Eurosport 2. You won't want to be going anywhere this weekend. Get your excuses in early. Don't forget the Bradley Wiggins podcast with Adam Blythe. There's a special guest for you to download as well. In the race of truth, though, it was Primoz Roglic who answered all the questions asked of him, taking the stage win and the red leader's jersey to boot. We're back to the mountains next. The rest day feels a very long time ago already. Join us for stage 11 tomorrow.
Coverage of La Vuelta on Eurosport is sponsored by Zwift, where fun is fast.